Oh, I mean, this is such an incredible interview, I think, because the fact that I've interviewing two people who are quite close in my career. Someone who I began my career with, which is of course Fatima, who's launching Asian Standard newspaper in London now. So huge congratulations. And of course, Manisha, who's a dear friend who I've known for so many years, and it's so wonderful to have you both together. So huge congratulations.
Thank you so much, Anuj. It's wonderful to be on your show, and I'm so proud of you. You've done really, really well in terms of launching your own outlet as well and becoming famous yourself.
Oh my God.
I see all these amazing things with you and people wanting selfies and things like that with you, so I better take your autograph before I finish today.
Oh God. Oh, this is so sweet. Thank you so much. Well, look, Fatima, I think we were having such a good chat, I think just before the interview began, and sort of talking about the stories that you would like to extrapolate through this newspaper, especially when it comes to the London South Asian community. So talk to me a bit about the launch. What are your goals and ambitions from it?
So, I mean, obviously the journey started 10 years ago when in October 2013, after being very successful with our northern newspaper, we came to Parliament then and obviously attempted to launch the London newspaper, which was hugely successful, and we were very grateful to the people that we honoured at that time, who were obviously Kareena Kapoor, Dynamo and Kimberly. Unfortunately though, health came in the way, and this is why the guest sat to my right resonates so well with my own journey. She's so relatable, and her journey is so remarkable as well, that we chose that we wanted to come back to London, and it's taken me 10 years exactly to the day to get back here to launch the newspaper, but to celebrate people like Manisha Ji and all the other people that we celebrated yesterday. And I think that's what's missing in London, because in where I come from, Yorkshire, the communities are very small. We're very close-knit. Everybody knows each other because the population is much smaller. Whereas London, the population is quite large, and all the communities are very diverse. And I think the publications, and I really do appreciate the publications that started before me, because had they not, somebody like me wouldn't have been able to launch my publication. Yeah. So tribute to them and thank you to them. But I still think that most of those publications probably cater for people like my mum and dad or my grandparents, because they came to this country in the 60s, 70s, and they still had an attachment to home country. They still had, my dad's from Gujarat, so he knows all the local politicians there. So if you have that in the local newspaper, he'll be very engaged. Whereas somebody like me who's born here, when he talks about that, it goes over my head. I have no idea. It's like, what are you talking about, Dad? Yeah. But if you tell me about Boris Johnson, if you tell me about Sir Keir Starmer, all of that kind of stuff, I know that. And I also know about our education system, but I haven't a clue about how the Indian education system works. So I felt that the British Asian newspapers were missing that. We didn't have the stories, but also, even today, we're still fighting for space.
True.
In this country. We still have to, even though we're British born and raised, we still have to fight to say we are British. We're still not considered British. We're still fighting inequalities. We're still challenging and still not having a true voice and still not having that representation. So for me, I wanted to create a newspaper that spoke about us and about our communities and was localised. And like I said yesterday, to ban the word BAME. We're not all the same. You can't put us all in one box. And it's about getting those individual stories and celebrating those individual stories and really having put a legacy out there of all the amazing people in our communities who are doing wonderful things.
Oh, that is so empowering. And I think we definitely do need something of that nature. And I'm really proud and happy that, you've launched Asian Standard in London. I think hopefully we'll get to see a lot more changes now, especially on the coverage side of things, on the conversations that we have. I think what really combines all of us actually on this panel today is the fact that we all have kind of overcome some adversity of sorts. I mean, I guess that's a very human thing. But I mean, Manisha, I remember last time we did a face-to-face interview, actually when you were in London, was during your book launch of Healed. And we spoke about the way you overcame your cancer journey. And I know for a fact that it is absolutely difficult. I mean, I've lost family members to cancer. But how difficult is it to really maintain a positive mental health, after overcoming such a deadly disease. You know, I mean, it's amazing how you still even now inspire people.
Yeah, it's. I have to say that firstly, after listening to her and her passion and her health journey, and the reason that she is trying to do things consistently, you know, it's the same thing we all aspire to have our own voices, to have our own spaces, to own our own spaces despite the odds, you know. And for me, I think, like today when I was texting one of my cousins who just recently been diagnosed with cancer, and I was advising her to consistently stay focused in positivity, consistently stay focused on staying healthy, no matter what the outcome is, no matter what the situation is, but you know, mind over matter. And that applies on health, on your career, on, you know, overcoming difficulties in every aspect of your life. And yes, life always throws a curveball. There's always too many challenges, too many potholes, but we need to always have that optimism going on. And it's something like we need to practice, consistently practice and work hard. And I always do that. You know, nothing in my life has I've come with, you know, a bed of roses. Nobody had laid a red carpet for me. I had to struggle. I had to really work hard to get it. And I guess that's how it's been.
Well, here you are, and you did it all, and so did you. I think it's wonderful to sort of see that. But you know, the one thing that I always admire in actors generally is that space of vulnerability. Is, you know, I mean, I've often said this. I feel the moment an artist or a creative, no matter which field, whether it's journalism, media, acting, the moment you lose that vulnerability, the moment you're overcome by bitterness, anger, and all these negative emotions, I feel that has a huge impact on you as an artist. But for you, Manisha, even now when I see you in your films, you still have that vulnerability. You still have that fragility that you brought to maybe a film like Khamoshi some years ago. Bombay. Dil Se, which is my favorite film, and you know how much I love that movie. So again, what has helped you maintain that vulnerability in you as an artist?
So, you know, you took that word called vulnerability as well as that fragile. And it's so important to be vulnerable in your real life. You know, no matter how many hardship one has gone through, no matter what you face, you know, you can, and it's so beautiful. It's a lot of work, you know. Oh, I'm 53 now, and a lot of things has happened. It should have toughened me up, you know. It should have really I should have closed doors, and I should be like, you know, hardcore, tough woman. I am when I choose to be that, but mostly I love to remain open. I love to be vulnerable. I love to have space, given space and chance, you know, to things to happen. And I don't want to be guarded all the time. And especially for an artist, you know, you need to stay open. You need to explore. You need to wander. You need to just go about things. So that openness is great, because, you know, with a lot of maturity and a lot of things that happens, one tends to have this thing, oh, I know it all.
Yeah.
And somehow that doesn't appeal me at all. You know, I want to just explore. I want to try new things. I want to see, wow. You know, I want to have that sense of wow. I don't want to lose that ever.
And I think also when I talk about Manisha Koirala's films, obviously not to add gender politics into it, but I think it definitely warrants it, because the films you have done are so strong in essence. Agni Sakshi, for example, to even contemporary times with Heeramandi, which you know how I'm excited about as well. So again, I think sort of when we talk about women empowerment and when we talk about strong women, but I think we also forget that it's okay to also have films which showcase women. You could still be strong when you're a grey character as well. You know, like we had Gehraiyan, which really talked about the greyness in all the characters. So how much has that definition of perhaps women empowerment perhaps altered over the years?
A lot. You know, a lot of women are speaking up. A lot of women are empowered and are not ashamed to be empowered. A lot of women are not. That's what I love about her. Is she has fire in the, there you go. She has fire in the belly. She has ambition, and we need to own that. We have dreams and ambition, and we want to achieve that. So I automatically, the narratives are also changing in cinemas and storytelling because of what's changing in the society.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's been over 2 decades since Dil Se, and I have to ask you a question on this because it's something. Yeah, I know it's gone crazy. I was in my diapers when the film came out, and now here we are speaking with Megha herself. So I think the fact that that film has really gained such a cult following over time, and it's so complex. It's so complex in understanding and interpreting. It's the different shades of love, but yet there's so much attached to it. When you look back now at Dil Se and the character that, of course, Megha goes through, what sort of things go in your mind when you look back at that film now? Because that was a very younger you at that point in time.
I somehow I've always mostly gone by my instinct and my gut instinct. And with Mani Ratnam sir, he's like a genius. And he is a beautiful narrator, beautiful storyteller. So I just followed him, Like I follow Sanjay Bhansali blindly. I follow Mani Ratnam blindly. Yes, I bring in my own element because, of course, as an individual, as an artist, as an experimenter, I would like to do things differently and I'll repeat what I've done before. But with the guidelines of what director wants, I listen to them carefully, very carefully. I understand what kind of a character this girl could be. I ask multiple questions to my directors. I think my directors could get tired of my questions. But I somehow try and understand her subconscious mind. Not consciously of how she's walking and she's talking, but how she's thinking and feeling. I want to go to the roots of that and then perform from that understanding.
I'm glad you mentioned Sanjay Leela Bhansali because when I interviewed him last year, he often spoke that his characters often spoke to God. And I think if we look at Khamoshi also, your character Annie is exactly what she did. She spoke to God.
Yeah.
Even just thinking about it.
Even in Heeramandi, there's this beautiful, beautiful sequence. I don't want to talk too much. But this,
I know.
but this is amazing scenario. You will see it later, where this character is talking to God, and she says, it's you,
Right.
Right.
I was going to ask you a bit about Heeramandi, but thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, that's really honoured to have that information. Thank you. But when it comes to spirituality, I think that's one thing that I've always gained from you, actually, is when you have done the roles that you have done, there is a very strong spiritual essence in all of them. How much has spirituality played a big role in your life as well?
So in my, not in my workspace, because my workspace is totally dependent on the narrative and the kind of film the director wants to show. I am a director's actor, and cinema is a director's medium. So whatever that fits into, I go with that. But in my personal space, I am hugely spiritual. And I believe in energies, and I read a lot, and I have traveled to many spiritual places and tried various forms of meditation and all that. So in my personal space, yes, that's my path.
Right.
And I'm a student of that.
Amazing. Right. हम जर्नलिस्ट ना काफी लालची होते हैं एक्सक्लूसिव के लिए. Fatima knows this also. But
I think I'm the one that taught you. You better get this.
yeah, actually, true. Actually, that's so true. But look, on that note, because look, Heeramandi, I think we all are so excited to see it. I mean, it is Bhansali's first venture on Netflix, his first web series, and I think it's your comeback with him since Khamoshi. So, what can you tell us?
All I can say, it's a pleasure as an artist to work with Sanjay Leela Bhansali. It's a huge honor because that man is a genius, and maybe he hasn't got his dues in terms of his recognition in the world. The way he portrays women and how beautiful his actresses are, not only physically but in their soul, spirit. And I just it's an honor to work with him, and I'm just very keen to see the whole thing. Wow. And I'm just stopping myself here.
Right, well, that's for another interview. That's enough for another interview. But on that note, thank you so much, Fatima and Manisha. It was so lovely to talk to you, and life has come full circle, and I think it's so emotional and poignant to see this moment happening. So thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.